Oh, I should stop. I should stop making weird noises because I'm now talking to the public. I'll have to shut down Discord now. I'll catch you guys on my live stream. Hello, everybody. Let me just double check that I am actually. Yes, there I am. All right. Just pop out the chat so I can see everybody. There it is. Hey, Dragon Lord, how's it going? Sorry, just caught the tail end of my conversation there. I was chatting on Discord. Hello, hello. Happy New Year, everyone. Hard to believe, isn't it? In the year 2525. Hard to believe I'm still alive. Will you ever do a class tier list for 5th edition? I don't do tier lists, generally speaking, because I kind of, they do get views, but it's not really my shtick. I'm not about telling people whether something's good or bad. I'm just demonstrating whether they're good or bad by the richness of lore or how usable or applicable they are in your games. But I would say, if you were going to ask me for a tier list of my opinion, I think probably clerics are my favorite class to play because they're the most diverse and customizable. Happy New Year, Richard. So hello, Dragonlord. Hello, Kairos. Hello, Eric. Hello, Electric Wizard. Hello, Matthew. Hello, Voices from the Dark. Hello, Iskandar the Great. Hello, Undead King. Hello, Brian. You're playing a life cleric right now. Well, there you go. Yes, it's a new year. It's the year of the snake, a year of renewal and change this year, I would say. Hey, Defense. Hey, Moondog. Glad to see you too. Yeah, I know it's been a little while. So long that I've grown some facial hair again. No, I don't use that program at all. I did check it out, Galdava, but it wasn't to my taste. I'm just not a person who does campaign planning on a web platform or anything. I just use mini notebooks and things like that. Like I've always got little notebooks and stuff, moleskin books and stuff hanging around. Yeah. And I think it would be... I might use world building... on World Anvil if I'm writing a novel or something like that, but probably not that way either. It's just not the way that I do things. No offense to World Anvil, I'm sure it's fantastic and lots of people use it. There's lots of other sites kind of similar to World Anvil as well. World Anvil's interesting because it ties in together. But I'm not doing a free promo for World Anvil today. Oh, you're playing Darkwood. Nice. Do the notebooks ever feel like it's physically too much? No. I mean, look at my bookshelves. No, it's just more wizards books, spell books and things like that, basically on my shelves. Hey, Wizards and Warp Drives. Morning, Nacho. Nice Mordenkainen type goatee. Yeah. I sort of out myself when I start growing facial hair. If I took my hat off and I was bald, I'd be a shoo-in. Just put the three... Like, you may notice that my avatar on whenever I'm depicted in the Forgotten Realms has got the 3 gemstones of Mordenkainen. He wears the same outfit. He's trained up in Mordenkainen style spells. Follows the same wizarding school as Mordenkainen. So I asked Ed Greenwood on Twitter yesterday if anybody's put together a compiled list of all of the third-party source books for Forgotten Realms that have been produced over 5th edition. And to his knowledge, nobody's put together comprehensive lists. He gave a suggestion for some stuff that has his Realms lore in it, which is a series of environmental almanacs, which are really good. You can get them as a bundle. They're not cheap, but they're very comprehensive and very good. And they cover all the different biomes of the Forgotten Realms. So I'm going to put together a list of those, and I will be covering and reviewing all of those in a video very soon. But basically is a hit back against that meme of the Forgotten Realms and the Remembered Realms, with the Remembered Realms just being a strip of the Sword Coast. Yeah, Wizards of the Coast certainly has dropped the ball in covering the rest of the Forgotten Realms regions, but that doesn't mean that source books and stuff for those don't exist and that they can't be considered canon. So if it's sold through the DM's Guild, which, for example, Thay, the Land of the Red Wizards, is sold through the DM's Guild, not only is this an up-to-date update on Thay, but it's written by Ed Greenwood, so with Alex Kramer and Alan Patrick as well. It's a really good read. It's up to date, which means that it will be contemporary with the campaign book, which is coming out soon. So it's a supplement to that and covers a lot of the details of Thay. Everything from cuisine and the topography, a really good map, all of the politics and stuff. There's ready-made factions, adventures, NPCs, everything here for you to set a campaign entirely in Thay. And although it doesn't seem like a huge book, it is very densely packed with information, as Ed Greenwood is wont to do. So there's everything from street snacks of ladybug-sized beetles and things like that, the lemongrass and lemons and the smell of the air in Thay, the temperature, the clothing that people wear, the way that they talk to each other, their mannerisms. So if you read this book, you will be informed in how to play an NPC or a character from Thay. And Thay is a really, really rich breeding ground for adventure. Like, the whole place is just oozing with intrigue and mysteries and threats to fight and rebellion and all that sort of stuff. Lost tombs, secret wizards laboratories, experiments, all sorts of stuff. Plus there's the ever-present theme of fighting good against evil, the fact that Thay is considered to be an evil nation, but the people that live there may not necessarily be evil, so you can explore those themes as well. The fact that Thay is moving away from the traditions of slavery after the Spell Plague and the impact that it had on their culture. So it's quite impressive. Hey, Spooky. My cat's going a bit crazy this morning. He caught a bird, and now he's looking for it because I stole it off him. Hey, thanks, Morgan. Welcome to Bronze Dragon. I did have a good new year. Yeah, it was very quiet, as you want, as a man of my ages want to do. Sage and Morty pledged at the same opportunity. Who stole whose look? Yeah, no. Mordenkainen is older than my alter ego character, that's for sure. Possibly. I don't know. My character is quite old. Yeah, Spooky's, it's almost Spooky's first birthday. On the 22nd is his birthday, so if anybody's got any ideas for his birthday present meal, I'm all ears. AJ loves Thay as much as I love Skullport. I wouldn't say that. I probably just know more about Thay than you do, Nacho, at the moment, but that'll change. Nacho and I, Wizards and War Tribes is a podcast. I think we're on episode 24, 25, something like that. It's ticking along, and we're going to soon be, this may be, I think, is it on Wizards and Warp Tribes, or is that our other podcast, Mastering the Dungeon, that we're going to be doing a grand tour of the realms? So each podcast will be covering Spooky. He's being a bit of a shit this morning. It will be covering a specific region of the realms. So slowly but surely, we're going to be going through the entire list of all the different regions of the Forgotten Realms, with the objective there being that you will be immersed and informed as a dungeon master, essentially. Happy New Year, Pale Rider. Happy New Year, Grimhild. Right, so Dungeons and Dragons politics, the news of the day. We can't help but talk about some bad things which have happened in the industry. This is like... I remember when Cynthia Williams was hired on as a CEO, and she was a supply chain expert, which didn't seem to make a lot of sense, in that Wizards of the Coast was deconstructing their supply chain, essentially, of physical books and stuff. And the question was, well, what's Cynthia Williams' role? But there was some other information that we sort of uncovered during the OGL, which didn't come to light because it didn't seem relevant at the time, and it just seemed like witch hunting. But she has some very dodgy connections with companies and individuals who ran fraudulent gamified, gambly type cell phone operations and things. And now we see the other shoe drops, and that Wizards of the Coast has partnered with a gambling company, a nasty online gambling company, to essentially produce Dungeons and Dragons themed gambling games. I could understand if it was something like Konami and they were just producing some slot machines in the Dungeons and Dragons movie theme for casinos and things like that. That would be fine in the realm of adults. Who cares? But this is different. This is talking about gambling and gamifying things online. And another disturbing thing I've seen is that YouTube is now adopting a token model for like a super chats thing, except instead of it being a cash displayed, it's like chits or tokens or something like that. This is the same reason why Wizards of the Coast gravitated towards Twitch rather than YouTube at the beginning, I think, is because of this attitude towards gaming, and the reason why they use tokens and things like that instead of cash value for things in those sort of situations is because it's gambling. It enables gambling. It enables addictive gambling personalities to separate the money that they're spending from the tokens they're buying. So they don't recognize the tokens in the same way that they recognize money. This is also how they hook children into gambling through loot boxes and add-ons and that sort of thing. So this is, as you'll see many people in the industry saying, a despicable act by Wizards of the Coast, which is designed to essentially turn children into problem gamblers. And as I've said from the very beginning and harped on many times, Hasbro is absolutely not good for children. They will think nothing of using your children to take as much money as possible, and they're just trying to basically scrape the gutter with the IP that we love so well and turning it into something which will be despised. So yeah, if you see any move towards this from the company, boycott the hell out of it, and absolutely talk to your congressman or whoever, and point out that this is a move in the bad direction that should be stopped in its infancy before it targets our infants, is what I'm saying. So yeah, my attitudes towards Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast is exactly the same as it's always been. They're despicable. I want them out of business. I want them all gone. I want them all fired. I want their company shut down. I want their corporation dead, buried, forgotten, a footnote in history, a fart in the wind, gone. Hasn't changed at all. Anybody who thought that I was defending Wizards of the Coast when I was talking about their Odonti orcs, wrong. Watch the video. Very, very interesting analytics on that last video that I put out. Yes, it had a clickbaity title because I was addressing something that I was sick and tired of seeing. So I was, it had a clickbaity thumbnail tool for it, but the actual content of the video was solid lore. I was just talking about the Odonti orcs being, there is an example of peaceful orcs in the realms. I wasn't saying that was the norm or anything. I was saying that the Odonti only make up a lost tribe somewhere. Sure, you could represent that in the PHB, but that's certainly not the norm. Also, the facial hair on those orcs is completely fucking wrong, and they are all half orcs. Those were not full-blooded orcs, basically. So yeah, full-blooded orcs don't look like that. They don't look like humans. They're not pretty. They're ugly, horrible, ape-like, nasty creatures that will eat you. But for the most part, they don't. They eat fungus. Rippleback, yeah. And the really interesting statistic that I saw in that video is that the majority of people coming and watching that video were already subscribed to my channel. I think it was something like 80% of the people who came in and watched that were already subscribed. But for the 20% that weren't, and for most of the people that watched that video, the average watch time was only 4 minutes, which is exactly how long it takes to click on the video, type out a comment, enter the comment, and leave. Nobody was watching that video. They were commenting on it without watching the video, which means there was a political posting on there, where they were just coming in to argue their opinion without watching the content. And yeah, there was a lot of what I call third-personing me, where, they refer to me in the third person, like, this person is doing this. Those comments are always trash, and just ignore them when you see them. But yeah, it was very, very telling. So you're not going to see clickbaity titles from me like that. I'm just going to carry on making my content. One thing you are going to see from me this year is a lot of essentially me cleaving to my brand, which is I am the Bob Ross of Dungeons & Dragons. I do calm, long format, nice, soothing lore videos that you can commute to, work to, paint to, or sleep to. So no jarring music, no shouting, no swearing, long stories, short stories that I read from Dragon magazines, stories that I write myself as I'm immersing you in the different areas of the Forgotten Realms. Far from moving away from the Forgotten Realms, I'm cleaving to and going through that as well. I'm going to complete the A to Z of all the monsters from the original Fiend Folio. I'll then move on to expanding and giving lore to the Tome of Beasts and incorporating them into the Forgotten Realms lore and things like that, and other world settings. But yeah, basically exactly what you want to see from me and have been watching from me for a long time is what I'll be doing. Just sticking to my brand. In the meantime, so that's supporting me doing my other things as well. On my other channel, I'm going to be doing a lot of reviews of particularly Palladium Books' games and other role-playing games and things. So the Mighty Glue Stick channel, as opposed to the AJ Pickett channel, is where I'll be doing all the off-forgotten brand, all the non-D&D type stuff. I'll be doing artwork, I'll be doing sculpting, I'll be doing miniature painting and miniature construction, how to make your own cheap terrain and things for minimum budget, how to play games for free, where to get free games, where to get special deals and things like that come along, more contemporary sort of news and things, and all of the stuff which is not that brand, essentially. So yeah, at the moment, that channel's just got some music and stuff that I've been doing, because I got the message loud and clear not to put AI music on my channel. Fair enough. Rifts, yeah. Absolutely, Snatchscape. Hey, Mr. Welch. Yeah, very in character for Wizards of the Coast, absolutely. Yeah, corporations work to the interests of their shareholders. Remember to always blame the shareholders when it comes to corporations, because corporations are nothing but a screen that they put up to defend themselves or scapegoat themselves from their actions of what they do with their money. That's the sole reason why corporations exist. They're just vehicles for investors to make money without personally being responsible. And that's not good. You've been working on a campaign in Aussie in the Forgotten Realms. I was wondering if you had any lore about that part of Toril, if it really is undeveloped as it seems. Yeah, it's completely undeveloped officially. So feel free to do anything you want there. Yeah, this one is particularly damning from Wizards of the Coast because it essentially just confirms everything that I said about Hasbro, that they do not care. Their morals are completely, like every ethical or moral thing that they say they're doing is just disingenuous pandering to one market or the other. They truly do not have any morals or ethics. None whatsoever. And the moment you start thinking that they do, slap yourself, you've been fooled. Okay? They don't. They are completely without morals. Basically, think of Hasbro as the Pinkertons. Okay, that's what they are. They are thieves that will exploit your and what do they call it? They Project Blue Book 2.0 or whatever it is, or whatever, Blue Cloud or whatever. Essentially, they just exist to exploit the IP, make toys, make lore for the toys, and make more toys of that lore, and then make toys, lore, toys, lore, toys, lore. They are not interested in anything that came before that is not recognizable market memes or tropes. Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to discuss as well. There's a very interesting conversation going on at the moment about tropes and the futility of trying to deconstruct a trope. For instance, orcs as a concept across the entire world of fantasy and storytelling is a trope that cannot be deconstructed, and it's futile to do so. So if you try and represent orcs as something other than they are traditionally in the mind's eye of every single person, as soon as you say the word orc, most of them are going to think of the Warhammer 40k orc or a Lord of the Rings orc or a traditional D&D orc. They are not going to think about Mexican orcs. So it doesn't, that makes no impact. It has no real lasting impact at all on the trope of what an orc is. And the people who are trying to change the races like Drow and things like that, or the species, it's futile and it will not last because they cannot change the trope. They can't change the minds of everybody. They can't change the cliche of what an orc is. It's an exercise in futility, and it's disingenuous of them in the first place. They're not really trying to help anything. They're just pushing an agenda to get ahead in their social circles. but eventually they get torn apart and torn down as soon as they run out of targets to attack. Yeah, as we know. So I do see a shift towards the end of that era of non-genuine social aggression. Yeah. Sounds like naughty pigs. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Shakespeare. My Christmas and New Year were okay. Hey, how to RPG? Pretty good, really. Yeah, had a lovely Christmas. New Year's for me is just a non-event. I just sat at home and had a beer with Spooky, but I was just basically hanging out and reassuring him that the fireworks weren't dangerous. Why am I alive? Magic. It's true. It's magic. Another interesting thing that nobody noticed on my channel but was extremely stressful while that video was going on and various others, YouTube decided to cull off about 2,000 or something like 1,500 to 2,000 of my fake bot accounts or something on my subscriber list. So I saw a massive drop in subscribers with no explanation as to why. And then when I tried to contact YouTube services, they were hinting that it was an automatic process going on, but they kind of dropped the ball because you are supposed to be notified by the system when that happens, and I didn't get any notification. So obviously I thought, oh I've done something horribly offensive and everybody's leaving my channel in droves. But there was no impact on my view counts, or there was no comments on social media. I couldn't see anything, hate on AJ Pickett, leave his channel, boycott him stuff going on. So I was very confused, very, very confused. And I was extremely stressed out over the Christmas New Year period, like waking up in a cold sweat, kind of stressed out. Like, yeah, it was the equivalent of going to work and seeing everybody walking out the door with boxes of their supplies and stuff going, oh no, that's what it felt like I was about to lose my job. So yeah, thanks a lot, YouTube, for the massive amount of unnecessary stress. That was really, really, really horrible. Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely getting deeply nerdy. Yeah, generally, hi Girlhead. Generally speaking, it's like there's a pushback against stereotypes in fantasy, tropes, right? Tropes in fantasy. There's a pushback against them because they see, like, for instance, Sly Flourish, who's a fantastic guy who doesn't deserve any of the flack that he's getting, put a page article in one of his books recently, which is talking about removing colonialism from your storytelling elements. And colonialism is, you can basically narrow it down to something as pithy as the idea of your character representing civilization and going into the wilderness, which is occupied by other species of intelligent beings, and saying that that's uncivilized, savage wilderness. And then, fighting your way and establishing a colony and building and expanding your civilization at the sake of theirs, and depicting their civilization as monstrous and evil or whatever. And that's colonialism. But that's, if you get rid of that, what's the cause for people exploring the world? In Forgotten Realms, for instance, it's a post-apocalyptic setting in that it's set after the fall of a major magical empire, Netherall. And now, as we enter into the new campaign book, one interesting thing that I noticed in the Thay book here is that Murgome, the dragon princes, are mentioned specifically in there. So Murgome is going to be, hopefully, mentioned in the new campaign book that comes out. If it's not, I'm going to ask questions. So after the end of the spell, the Dragon Rage mythal, dragons have now started to organize and behave peacefully together, including chromatic dragons, which is the big selling point of the Dragon Princes. So you've got kingdoms of people who are willingly ruled by dragons who have agreed to not attack each other. So they've made a stable dragon-ruled empire in Murgome, which is on the exact opposite side of the map from the Sword Coast. So that's very, very interesting because that could change everything. Also, giants have changed as well because Anam is now no longer holding them in a strict hierarchy. They are so that they can get ahead on their merit alone. They're not sort of restricted. Hey, Thorn, thank you very much. We love you, AJ. Best D&D content, hands down, at least from my opinion. Thanks, man. That makes that makes me feel good. Yeah, we're not allowed to have bad guys. Yeah, that's the sickening thing. It's just like, look, that's fine. You can have your character-driven roleplay and stuff. As far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't write a backstory until you're sitting at a table with a DM and talking about the backstory of your character together. Anybody who comes to a table with a pre-written backstory for their character is essentially removing the agency of the Dungeon Master for background building with your character involved. So you're murder hoboing your character before they even get to the table, or you're turning up with an agenda which you're demanding that the Dungeon Master change their campaign or whatever to accommodate whatever backstory your character is written with. That's not okay. Writing characters and creating characters, if you're putting that much effort into writing a backstory for your character, you are already of the mindset of a campaign building Dungeon Master, and you should stop playing and start running games immediately, because essentially you're just spinning your wheels. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Shakes again. It was a cruel summer. Yeah. Well, the summer is in full swing here in New Zealand. It's a hot one. It's a bit cooler today, actually. Spooky's now in his bed beside me, like nothing ever happened. Like you weren't tearing the place apart 5 minutes ago. You are such a teenager. Yeah, Forgotten Realms has experienced, well, all of the different creator races, for instance. The video that I'm working on at the moment, the video? What am I, Chekhov? The video that I'm working on at the moment is the Batraki, the creator race, the Batraki. Because of that video that I did recently on Sendam and being a Slard Lord, that, of course, the Slard are the Batraki, but they're also not. It's a very interesting story about what they did. Yes, I live in New Zealand. I admit that I'm a nightmare player, and I agree with what AJ just said. Yeah, you should start DMing, essentially. It's a natural progression from playing the game, getting invested in your character, the characters becoming like a hobby. So role-playing is a hobby which is a nest of hobbies. So terrain building and crafting and sculpting and artwork and painting and things like that, that's a hobby. Adventure crafting, encounter building, monster building, those are a hobby. Creating campaign, world settings, things like world building, that is a hobby in and of itself. And character building and character backstory and character development, or making new types of resources for the game, such as new character classes and new factions and things like that. That's also a hobby as well. So everybody does it. They're all legitimate. None of them are bad. None of them are an indicator that you're a problem. They're just things that people find enjoyable and are solo activities. So ways that you can play the game without a group around you. And for a lot of people, that's the majority of time is spent world building and doing that sort of, spinning your wheels and engaging and that sort of thing. Kind of like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. It has that same sort of enjoyment of like, I can just be creative and write it down. And always the temptation, of course, as soon as you get somebody who's interested in hearing about your campaign, you want to like rant at them for 20 minutes or so. It's best to get that out of your system before you sit down at the table with your players and rant at them about your setting for 20 minutes, because you'll just burn out all of their mental energy before they even get to play. So my advice is throw the players into the game. Make sure that they have a blank sheet. Like, for instance, if you're playing D&D Basic, don't even give your character a backstory until they're level 3. Same thing with Dungeons & Dragons. If it's a first level or a second level or even a third level character, don't even give them a backstory until they're in the game, and let the backstory organically begin and unfold. So, for instance, don't write down if you have friends or family or living family or anything like that, or whatever motivation your character has to go adventuring in the first place. Let it organically happen, and let you and the other players collaboratively establish those links and roots in the campaign world. So your character should not exist separate from the campaign. They should be an integral part of it. And the campaign should influence your character build. Essentially, that's all it really comes down to. And that becomes a much more enjoyable experience. It's much more enjoyable to have friends and family members and commitments in the game that your character is deeply caring about, rather than fall into that trap of my entire family and all of my mentors that trained me in my skills got killed by raiding orcs and therefore I hate orcs. You're not a ranger. You don't have a favorite enemy. You don't need to get rid of all of your links and ties to the adventure world before you start playing. That's a mistake, because those are just you just cutting off all these avenues for adventure. Where would John Wick be, if his puppy wasn't killed, or something like that? Or he has living connections. He has people that he goes to for help, bolt holes, safe zones, places that he can get resources from. Those things should always be popping up. Your character should be a living, integral part of that world, and they should have ties to it, commitments and things. Otherwise, where would they get their training when they go from one level to the next? Do they get their new wizard spells from the gods? No, they got to go to an academy or train from a master or, acquire a scroll. They've got to know somebody who knows somebody. So their connections is really what their character class is all about. It's their community. It's their place in the world. They become a living part of the campaign. They become an integral part of the campaign. So that's their aspect of storytelling, collective storytelling, is their character becomes a living part of the campaign world that the person is saying. Hey, Vale Rider. You really settle on a name until 3rd level. Yeah. Yeah, it's a massive cluster of hobbies. I regret it not at all. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Gastuk. You got a hot one, and I'm out generator shopping ahead of a potential blizzard. Oh yeah. I saw some snow, a lot of snow going up the middle of the country. The Prime Minister of New Zealand is best ignored, whoever it is. I live in New Zealand. Yeah. Nobody's paying any attention to politics at the moment. Nobody. Oh, you love the theme song of Wizards and Warp Drives. Awesome. That's good to know. Thanks, Kagastic. By the way, just for anybody who wants to know, anybody who's buying any merch and stuff from me, by the way, here's a deeply nerdy mug. I am particularly, as a big guy, being able to fit all of my fingers in a handle is kind of nice. And it's just the right size for my big morning coffee. So yeah. They're available at my 4th wall. The other big change is I'm actively moving away from Patreon. Don't worry, all of the Patreon supporters, you're getting everything the same way as you have. It's just being replicated over on 4th wall. Please, if you get a chance, go to 4th wall instead of Patreon. I would like to abandon Patreon. I have wanted to abandon Patreon for years now. It's just that there was nothing that was better that came along. 4th wall is loads better. I'll tell you why. They integrate your merchandising. So I no longer have to go to a third-party site like Spreadshirt or Teespring or anything like that. 4th wall takes care of all of that for me. It also is the hub that I can host articles, blog posts, newsletters, everything, all of that stuff, all in one place. So please, if you are interested in supporting the channel, I've got a special on at the moment, which is just $1 for the subscription membership, and you get all of the exclusive content that I'm going to be putting on there. I just put a big article on, if you watch the movie Tarot, I've just converted and made a magic item, which is essentially exactly what was in that movie. So you can make the scenario of that movie in your D&D game right now, straight up with the magic item that I put in my 4th, but it's only available for my 4th wall and Patreon supporters. That's also where I've been putting all of the conversions and stat blocks and stuff like that for all of the monsters and stuff that I talk about. In my videos going forward this year, I won't be talking about any 5th edition stats or any role-playing specific stats and stuff. It's just going to be lore in the videos where I'm talking about the thing and bringing it to life narratively. But I'm not interested in game mechanics for any specific game system per se. But in the Patreons, the patrons on 4th wall, they will be getting all that exclusive stuff, plus all the extra articles that I wrote. Any super atomic development and stuff is I'll be putting that stuff there. That's the other big news that I have. So I have it's now kicked into, we've gone through the beta testing phase and we're now in the alpha testing phase. So I have now spent some real money, $1,000 of real money on getting the layout and stuff done for the PDF, which is being worked on as we speak by a professional art director named Dave. And he is very generously donating a lot of his. I wish I could give him more money because he does really good work, and he would do it for free, he said, but he's got to earn a crust. Understandable. So he's doing the layout and stuff for a PDF, and the PDF, as soon as that's available and in a good condition, I will be releasing that as promised for free for everyone so they can all play Super Atomic. Super Atomic, in case you don't know, is an extremely rules light, no barriers to entry. You don't have to do any prep. You don't have to learn any rules. It's essentially a resource for playing an improv superheroes game that you play. It's designed for streaming play and theater of the mind. So there's no, it's the least complex, but it's the least complex to approach and play, but one of the most complex in its resources that it gives you in the form of random roll tables. So you can create an infinite variety of player characters that are just zany and very, very fun to play. I also provide a set of random roll tables for the person who is hosting the game to run the scenarios, which are essentially relying on cliches and tropes, so that you can just roll up the adventure. And it's just designed to inspire you, and so you can run it without having to worry about like what sort of adventure am I going to play for these characters and stuff. So literally, you can just sit down, grab the book, and start playing immediately with no prep whatsoever. And you don't need to learn anything. You can just go. It's copy paste. Roll some dice, and you'll have a game and a bunch of characters in about 2 minutes time, and then you can play for an hour or two easy, and the time will just fly by, and you will be sore from laughing at the end of it. That I can guarantee. So that is coming up around probably end of February, March maybe, and then I start working on my grand scheme, my grand plan, which is a Kickstarter for Super Atomic Infinite, which is not my D&D killer, but it's definitely designed to usurp tropes. It's a trope. It's what I call an RPG virus that I'm sending into the flanks of Wizards of the Coast to kill them, to kill the wounded beast. Which is, I know it sounds a bit weird, but I'm removing the stigma of wargaming from role-playing games. So all of this stuff which we think are integral to role-playing. We're at a point where we need to recognize that streaming play and stuff like that, or like live play or online play and things like that, doesn't necessarily have to incorporate those wargaming elements. And the wargaming elements are what causes crunch and difficulty of approaching things. Like the other day, I was sitting down at Christmas time, and we're about to play a new game, and I grabbed the pamphlet of rules and opened it out and went, this is as many rules as I'm happy to read if I'm ever going to play a card game or a board game. Why should role-playing games be any different? So from the perspective of somebody who's never played a role-playing game, a book of rules is just intimidating. That's all. It's just straight up intimidating. So they don't want to go, ugh, I don't want to read an entire book just to play a game. Fair. Very fair. So here's a game where you don't need to. That's what Super Atomic is. Anyway, that's on its way. Thank you, CPK 4791. Do magic and cleric spells fade from memory when PCs go to sleep? Oh, that's an interesting question. Yes, not cleric spells, no. Cleric spells, you reestablish those cleric spells because the person is assumed to be going through their vespers or morning prayers or morning rituals and things like that, in which they receive the blessings of their divine patron that they can call upon. They're not necessarily in the game world restricted, and when you're a cleric, you can just call on those powers. So clerics don't have to keep the spells in mind like wizards do. Wizards, on the other hand, when they prepare their spells in the morning, they're literally preparing their spells to cast because they have them constantly on their mind like a mantra until they cast them. So wizards have to keep two conversations going on all the time. The conversations and interactions that they're having with the world around them. And at the same time, they are chanting the words to the spell that they then take the components and complete with a power word at the end of it, so they can cast the spell very quickly. So every spell is like a mental ritual that they are maintaining during the day through a level of concentration, which is represented by their high intelligence. So that's why wisdom isn't a prerequisite stat for wizards, for instance. It's intelligence. It's the ability to have more mental pans in the fire going at the same time. And the higher the level of the spell, the more mental pans the more mental power is required to maintain it. And that's the whole concept of spell slots. When you say the spell, you can forget the mantra. The song which has been repeating in your head, the brain worm, is then released. You can drop it and go, I don't have to keep thinking that. It's gone, it's done. So the spell slot is freed up, and you feel the exhaustion of not having to think it anymore. It's like a burden has been removed from your back, sort of thing. That's wizard spellcasting. Sorcerers, on the other hand, they feel magic. It's a living conduit thing going on, and their spellcasting is more about putting them in, turning themselves into the lens that focuses magic in the way that has the effect. They don't think of it in the form of a formula or other than that. It's more like a psychic spellcasting in their regard. Like sorcerers would be better as psychics in D&D, mind mages. And that's something that we're sorely missing in the current edition of the game. And they don't seem to have ever done anything about it. They've never really fixed psionics in 5th edition as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I do play live games on the Wally DM channel. So if you ever want to see me playing all the different, if you want to see how many different games that we played during 2024, go over to Wally's channel and you'll see a load of games where I'm at the table playing with everybody else. But you won't see that on my channel because Let's Play videos they kill channels, essentially. Like, for instance, How to Be a Great GM. He's shutting down his channel, and looking at what he was doing, his live plays just killed his channel. It turned into a ghost channel. A ghost channel is where you've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers and you're only getting hundreds of views on your videos. That's called a ghost channel. That's when YouTube stops recommending your content to other people. How big am I? I'm 6'1", weigh about 110 kg. I know, I used both different sizes. I don't know what that is in centimeters, 180 something. So not small. And I have very disproportionately large hands because I'm a dire hobbit. And feet. I have very large feet. I won't show you my feet because there's people who are weird about feet. Hey, HB Haga. Roger Ull. Yeah, we've already been playing Super Atomic on YouTube, so you can see recorded games of it. But it's more fun to play it offline because it's just really zany. It's all over the place. Generally speaking, I think something always blows up in the game, so it's very aptly named. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Elon Musk. It's not relevant. All I will say is that Elon Musk is a dad with gaming-aged children. His sons are all of the age to play D&D, so him buying Wizards of the Coast would have been kind of like the best Christmas present his sons would have gotten. It's like, if he brought Hasbro, that would be hilarious. It's like, here, son, have Nerf the company. That'd be awesome. I'm not either thing on Elon Musk. I'm neutral on Elon Musk. I don't care. I don't think he's the Antichrist. It's none of my business about American politics either. I literally do not care. As far as I'm concerned, everybody voted. It's a democracy. Deal with it. Wizards of the Coast is wasting the license. Absolutely. They're abusing the license. But enough about them. Yeah, I'm a dire hobbit because my mum literally is a hobbit. She's like this tall. And my dad was like 6'6". So, yeah. Literally a cross between a hobbit and a Goliath. Why don't sorcerers, when they master their inherent magic, just learn magic like wizards do to add to their overall abilities? That's called cross-classing. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. If you want to cross-class sorcerer or wizard, weird, but go for it. There you go. Mr. Turtle. There's your solution. Yeah, he's a gamer himself. Yeah. He's not just a gamer, he's one of the best gamers in the world. Says a lot about Elon. Yeah, I want to see his auto-driving bus as well. Hey, Wally, how's it going? There's Wally DM. We just mentioned your channel, Wally, and all of the live players and Let's Plays on there. Wally is your go-to guy when it comes to puzzles and things like puzzles in your D&D games, which is an integral part of role-playing in many ways. Like, puzzles aren't just, grab the red gem and put it in the red receptacle and answer solve the pattern on the wall sort of thing. They're far more integral to the way that you play role-playing games. Like, the whole adventure is a puzzle when you think about it. And Wally is a super nice guy. So absolutely go and check out his channel and check out all those live plays. Check out all of those DM's roundtables, because they really need more views. Like, we really love doing them. I hope we'll do them regardless of views or not. I have really missed this break over the Christmas, the festive season, where we haven't been playing games and things like that. I've really came to enjoy those. Because for a lot of us YouTubers, it's the only chance we get to have role-playing games. Is Rakshasa the most underrated, unused monster in D&D? No, I'd say the Arcanoloth is one of the most underused. Also, people need to use hags more. Yeah, hags are integral. Hey, M. Sean Chapman. Nice to see you. Hey, Mr. Mackinac. Hey, AJ, what's the whole deal with the World Serpent? It seems like there's a bunch of lore that doesn't fit together around it. Yeah, there's a lot of conflicting lore, particularly around Asmodeus and his origins. So each edition of the game, Asmodeus has a different origin story because he's the Lord of Lies. None of them are true, and I just have to laugh at people who get really like, no, this is what Asmodeus' origin story is. It's like, no, nobody knows what his origin story is. That's the whole point, because you can't go back in time and kill him if his origin story is not true. It's in his best interest for it not to be true. So anytime you learn what Asmodeus' origin story is, you've just learned another elaborate lie. You see? So, there was a very good comment that was from one of the Dungeons & Dragons authors who said, it was Eric L. Boyd actually who told me this. When you are researching the lore on anything, particularly the origin of species in the game, like the Darrow are a perfect example. The Darrow's origin story, they'll tell you their origin story, but that's their mythology, right? The actual historical recorded facts are the only thing that is reliable lore. Everything else is just mythology. So unless it happened in historical recorded fact, and it involves a god or a species or a magic item or something like that, all the rest of it is just mythology and folk tales. Don't take anything that is in the description of a god, like Moradin's history, the origin of the dwarves, Moradin's actions and stuff, only when the god has actually physically manifested something on the plane and is historically recorded that it happened by third parties and others, is it reliable lore information for the world and world building. Otherwise, it's mythology, it's religious doctrine. It's not canonical fact, historical fact. So that's really important, particularly when it comes to do like lore of the Dark Elves and the fall of this and the origin of that and stuff like that. Very, very important. Like, for instance, nobody ever talks about the fact that the Drow are divided up into different cultures, and that the Menzo-Baranzan Drow are a specific culture of Drow. They don't represent the majority. They're just being highlighted because those are the ones who interact with other races on the surface by coming up and enslaving and raiding and doing all that nasty stuff because their goddess drives them to. They're one of the more dystopian Drow cultures, but they're not all Drow, right? So it's not our fault that we've got this mono idea of what the Drow are. It's the author's fault for not exploring alternate Drow cultures, or R.A. Salvatore restricting himself to that specific region and that specific culture of Dark Elves because that's where that main character came from. Of course, he's not going to explore other Drow cultures because he doesn't even know they exist. The Drow are very secretive. They are unknown. For the longest period of time in the editions of D&D, if your character said to me, I'm going to go and trade with the Drow, I would turn around and say, how does your character know what a Drow is? That's metagaming. You have no idea. None of your characters, nobody in this town have ever heard of Drow. They don't know what they are. All they know is that occasionally dark, evil creatures from the Underdark come up and enslave and steal children and villages and stuff like that. And whole townships have been wiped out by these people, and nobody knows who they are. The mystery of the Drow. That's what's been lost. And it's sad. But yeah, for the longest time, nobody knew who the Drow were because they lived deep in the Underdark, the most secretive places, in the darkest dungeons. Hey, thank you, Meg, too. Hey, AJ, will you be doing videos in the Zentarum, Harpers, and other groups? Yes, I will be. Thanks to books like this, which talk about the actions of the events and stuff. Remember, we've got a new campaign guide coming up soon, and so that's my forte. That's my bread and butter. So that's what I'm waiting for this new edition is the update on the Forgotten Realms. I'm not interested that much in the Player's Handbook or the Dungeon Master's Guide. I barely even read the entire books yet. I've just had a skim and read through those, but I'm not really interested in that stuff. What I am interested in is the lore, and the fact that we're getting a new campaign book. It's very interesting. Like, I can tell you for a fact that the date in the new campaign book is 1499 DR. We're just on the cusp of the new century. Let's celebrate the 10th super on the live stream. Oh, Fritz, that was the 10th super chat. Thank you very much, everybody. This is all going towards me buying much needed new dentures, by the way. Any merch that you buy or any super chats and stuff goes towards my my new teeth fund. Because these are just the temporary dentures that I got when I got all my teeth ripped out. So they're really loose and they're becoming uncomfortable. But they're still functional. I'm perfectly fine. Don't take that as like an emergency. It's just I'm slowly building up towards the $5,000 or so it costs for a really good pair of dentures. I'm old. What can I say? I'm a cyborg. Yeah, Veyron doesn't get enough attention. Mask doesn't get enough attention. Illustrae doesn't get enough attention. Everybody's focused on specific topics because they're political. Yeah. But yeah, there's been too much service to non-fans, Yeah, there's been a lot of depictions of the Drow with different skin tones and things like that. They're all okay. For instance, the one thing that you should know is that the Drow don't rely on sunlight. Okay, so their skin color has got nothing to do with melatonin. Okay, nothing to do with melatonin. They do not survive on sunlight. Their skin tone has got nothing to do with sunshine. Okay. It's got to do with their ethnic origins. They are not the same as the dark. Yes, they are derived from dark-skinned elves, but when they went underground and started interbreeding with demons, they turned into elven tieflings, kind of. Yeah, so different Drow from different cultures that aren't from Menzoberranzan may have bone white skin. They could have ashen skin. They could have purple skin. But the trope that we all accept is that Drow have coal black skin and stark white hair. And they are originally quite ugly. In original D&D art, they're not attractive. It was really like Jeff D and I think maybe Errol Otis. They concentrated a lot on sort of their artwork of their armor and the spider themes and motifs and things. Yeah. And yeah, no, but Drow are not purple. But they can be. But the Menzoberranzan Drow that you would normally see, no, they will be. They have coal black skin, like not even melatonin black. It's like painted black skin. It's like tieflings. Tieflings have got like nobody ever talks about why tieflings have got red skin or purple skin or thing. It's understood that they have a supernatural origin. Drow have a supernatural origin as well. That is why they have weird skin tones. And also they derive their energy from a lot of their energy and sustenance from phase rests, which is a unique energy in the Underdark, which not a lot of people talk about either. I don't come across old. Yeah, well, I'm 51. I'm going to be 52 soon. So, yeah. Born in 1973. Thanks to my Scandinavian heritage, I don't look as old as I am, I suppose. Also, I've never been married and I don't have kids, so I'm just kid. I'm a lad forever. I'm a perpetual bachelor. And anyway, aren't wizards supposed to like live for a long time? So, yeah. I barely even qualified. I've hardly even grown in a beard yet. Yeah, original elf art wasn't that great either. They're short, slim, delicate, waif-like, kind of effeminate looking. Yeah. Elves have always been elfy, like short, slight, graceful. Yeah, they're from the forests. Androgynous, yeah. Melanin is what affects. Oh, melatonin is what makes you feel sleepy. Oh, sorry. Oh, there we go. Melanin. Thank you very much, Crashman. Elves are the master race. Good grief, no. And of course, in the Forgotten Realms, elves have got a terrible history of awful crimes and killed millions of people. Yeah, over and over again. The story of the Dothraki, like this video, is quite involved. It's probably going to be about an hour long. I don't know. It starts off with some journals. I'm reading straight from some journals in Candlekeep at the start of the video. So it starts off sounding like a story. And there's a lot of lore of where the Dothraki came from. Like, for instance, if I say Dothraki, you think toad person, but in actual fact, they started off as looking like octopi, and because they are the progenitors of all of the shapeshifters, doppelgangers, that sort of thing. So yeah, and the Taco, for instance, were created by the Dothraki. So the Dothraki originally were contemporary with the Aboleth when the world of Toril was a frozen ice cube with eternally dark, deep oceans. And that was the world of Toril for a long time because Dendar had swallowed the star at the start of the middle of the star system. Then a new star was constructed, an artificial star in the center of Toril. Yeah, newsflash, Toril's sun is not real. And the world thawed, and that was the Age of Thunder. And that was where the Saruk and the reptiles dominated the landscape. But there were also, at that time, the orcs were there, humans were there, and the Quaggoth were living on the surface. They hadn't descended into the Underdark like the Drow had yet. So there were orcs, Wookiees, and humans were some of the dominant races that were running around on the surface, as well as the origin of lizard folk, the Hasabi, and yeah, the various massive empires of reptile people, the Saurians, and the Saruk with their red glowing eyes that caused fear in all reptiles. The masters of the scaled folk. Pretty impressive that like a Saruk could just go and a T-Rex would just be like, that's power, man. It's like, you, Brontosaur, smash that. Yes, sir. They're just the masters of all reptiles. Yeah, the Forgotten Realms sun isn't real. It's an artificial construct. Would you like to know more? I have a whole series of videos of Spelljammer about the Realms lore. Have I checked the original artwork for the Beholders? Yeah. Trust me, I've seen it. Yeah. Where can we find info on Phase Rift? Oh, it's called Phase Rest Energy. It's not Phase Rift. It's Phase Rest Energy is it was created in the Underdark, a flow through the Underdark, essentially to sustain the elves and other cultures down there. But again, we don't really know. It's mythology, right? So we don't know the physical origin of Phase Rest Energy. It's a planner. It's kind of like a planar energy that's interacting with the Underdark and providing nourishment and stuff like that for species that rely on it. Also, it's long been held that Drow incorporate Phase Rest energy into their armor and weapons to strengthen them and as a basis for their enchantments. But if it's exposed to sunlight, Drow equipment always quickly degrades, rusts and falls apart and becomes useless. So you can't capture their superior chainmail and weapons and things like that and take it up to the surface and dominate everybody, because it breaks down. Yeah. Similar sort of thing if you carry, like if you've got leather armor and leather backpacks and stuff and you go down into the deep underdark, into the wet caverns full of fungus and stuff, it's just going to eat all your leather if you don't look after it very studiously every day. In fact, I would say, unless your character is telling me that they're maintaining their leather, it's going to sprout mushrooms and fungus and get moldy and get eaten literally off your body by the time you've made it through those caverns. It's a very, very predatory sort of underdark. Hey, thanks, GenX1987. Is there anything about AO's backstory revealed? No. So Ed and the other authors kind of, they've got the overgods in there as like it's their master control switch. So they can say, AO's done this thing which has changed the way that pantheons work. AO has done this thing which has changed the way that the planets work. AO has done this thing which, he's basically the cosmic engineering switch. But as of himself, he's a non-entity. He's essentially the dungeon master. This is your first AJ stream? Welcome, Lawrence. Actually, I should put in the proper spelling of Phasres. Something like that, I think. Phasres. It's difficult to spell. It doesn't make it easy to look up this lore, guys. If you're writing the lore, don't give it weird names. It's hard to look it up. Yeah, Dendar. The Dendar is a primordial that feeds on the nightmares of all living beings. So he's like an astral thought entity, and he kind of represents like the Ragnarok world serpent as well. And Dendar swallowed the sun, literally ate the sun. That was very beneficial for the Aboleth, who were ruling the oceans of Toril at the time. So this is around the end of the Dawn War. So there would have been centaurs and things like that on the world as soon as the Age of Thunder. Centaurs would have been one of the early species as well. They were quite important in the original War of the Gods. Type of radiation, yeah. Phase rest, there you go. Thank you, Richard. I've heard that Drow were originally supposed to be alabaster white, but were changed to pitch black because it showed better on the page. Yeah, it's the same reason why Hulk's got purple pants, like for a long time, for printing reasons. You know, it was just easier to represent that against the green. Yeah, it can be as simple as that. Like there was no. That's why it's so ridiculous to insert cultures, real world cultures and things like that into it. Like, for instance, allegory is so ridiculous. Like, Tolkien wasn't doing an allegory for the real world. He was doing an allegory for the Norse sagas. Like, all of the names of the dwarves are directly taken from the Norse sagas. Directly. Nori, Snorri, blah, blah, blah. Those are all names taken directly from Norse folktales, Norse poetry, sagas, Eddas, the Eddas. So he wasn't talking about, World War II or industrialization and things like that. Maybe they were themes in his life, but they weren't what he was representing in the story. What he was doing is he was retelling classic Nordic tales to his boys in the form of this story. Yeah, but he hated people saying that the orcs represented something in the real world. He hated it. Didn't want them to do it. Said, no, stop that. And that is what, like, just seems an obsession with people these days to draw real world associations with things. It's like Drow are not those people, or orcs are not these people. That's ridiculous. They're not that way. It's also offensive. Like, I'm not some fantasy creature. Well, I mean, sure, I am a dire hobbit. I'll admit it. But, I can say that. You can't. Oh, you're most welcome, Tom. Thank you. Right, Beowulf. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because all the original modules were black and white. Thank you again, Genix. Here's my headcanon. In the chaos of the Far Realm, it created a perfect being in its randomness of infinite. That being was Ao. Your thoughts? No, because Ao exists before then. I mean, that's your headcanon. That's fine. I'm not saying, I'm not yucking your yum. Just for me, no. Ao is more like a, because in my D&D, D&D basic is still relevant. So in my D&D, immortals still exist. So on the world of Mystara is a council of immortals. There is an Olympics where the immortals participate. They travel the multiverse, exploring and cataloging the work of the old ones. Essentially, like what did the old ones leave behind? They're looking for a pattern or some sort of meaning about how the old ones went into higher dimensions. Yeah, and for them, Ao is so the gods for them are just astral beings for the immortals. They're projections of the astral. What happened? How to explain it? So originally there was like this one world and one plane of existence, and there wasn't an astral plane. There was just the ethereal plane and the inner planes, and that's it. There wasn't an astral plane. There was just the dream realm, which was on the border of the ethereal. So you go border ethereal, deep ethereal, and the dream realm, and there were no gods. So what happened was the spell weavers, and there were primordials and the far realm, because those represented alternate timelines where the laws of physics and everything went really weird and different. But there was a distinct barrier in that you could not cross between those planes of existence. So the far realm did not interact with the rest of the world. What the spellweavers did is they said, okay, we're going to go into our dreams. We're going to pump infinite amounts of power into our dream selves and turn those into avatars that can manifest the ability to change and morph things in dreams into the real world, because that's kind of how magic was working in the first place. But what happened is they ascended all of the spellweavers at the same time. It invested massive amounts of disruptive energy into the dream realm. The dream realm bubbled out and broke through the barrier, and all of those dream realms, which represent the different alignments of all the people that were involved, turned into distinctive planes of existence, which we call the outer planes. And those outer planes manifested the gods. And the gods then interacted with the mortal world and required worshippers, and that whole system established. But it hasn't always been that way. And the gods definitely do not want the reversion back to the reversal of that spell, which the spellweavers built into the spell in the first place. So yeah, it's a big long story, but essentially that the architecture of the cosmology of D&D is the result of an accident, a deliberate attempt to ascend to godhood by an entire race of beings. And yeah, it's crazy, but that's where it comes from. And Ao is just one of those manifestations. And Tharizdun was one of the original primordial gods. That when that happened, he realized that it's unstable. It could all go away, and we must stop mortals at all costs from ever disrupting the outer planes or ending the outer planes or finding the means to reverse that process, because that will be the end of all gods and all of their works and all the races they've created and everything. In a nutshell, that's the D&D cosmology for you. You're busy crafting while listening. Excellent. So yeah, in a way, you're close in that Ao is a being that sort of manifested from somewhere else. He's not like a regular god, but he's a result of that disruption. So not the far realm, but something that happened, a massive cataclysmic event that has happened and changed the entire cosmology. That also stranded a lot of species, races, and beings who no longer have a normal universe. So their universe that they came from got altered around them and is no longer the same. The Lachey are a perfect example of that. Are one of the Fey creatures that have their original universe is gone. So very Rick and Morty existential crisis for them. Hey, Archbit. Hello, Norway. Yeah, it's like, I'm just going to say the truth as I see it, and I'm not buying into this whole, like, I'm not in any way threatened by people who don't like what I say about Tolkien and allegory and all this woke bullshit which is going on. I'm not on either side of the fence. I'm on the side of fantasy and storytelling and role-playing and having fun at the table. That's who I'm on the side of. I'm not in any particular ideology. I'm not right or left. I don't care about that stuff. I'm not an American. That's not the way that New Zealanders think. That's not the way we behave. I'm not an extremist in any regard other than I'm an extreme role player, right? I believe in the merits of role-playing games. I believe that it's very good for society to sit down face-to-face at a table and play games together. That we must preserve. And I will preserve that in any medium that it becomes available to. So as soon as we started doing video conferencing, I was right there from the beginning, along with the others in the RPG brigade and stuff like that, and saying, look, we need to stop talking about role-playing games and start demonstrating what role-playing games are to people. So that's where the first live plays and broadcast games came from. Critical Role, Acquisitions Incorporated, they came along afterwards and popularized it, sure, but they certainly didn't start it, and they're not responsible for the origins of it, and they're not really the people that you should be applauding as the innovators of a thing. They just capitalized on it. So that's great. Full credit to them, not disparaging them in any way, but Matt Mercer is not the architect of role-playing games. He's not the best role player in the world. He's not the best dungeon master in the world. He's a very good one. He's a fantastic guy, but he's not the creator of streaming role-playing games. And also, don't forget, Pathfinder was what they were playing when they began, not D&D. And so them leaving D&D behind, that's on brand. It's not a big deal. Oh, thanks, Cos. What's my favorite beverage for going deeply nerdy? Coffee, straight up coffee. I actually am a big fan of Canada's Folgers coffee. It's hard to get in New Zealand. I have to get it by the tub from my relatives over in Canada, and I'm always seeking it out. I know it's just common dirt coffee over in Canada, but I particularly like it because you can't get anything quite as bitter, rich, strong here in New Zealand. We like our more sort of fuller flavored stuff. And Folgers, I just like Folgers. What can I say? Hey, hail Canada. I have a lot of relatives over in Canada. I've got an aunt, I've got an uncle, another uncle. I've got at least four first cousins over there, plus associated family. So yeah, and also my brother's over in the States now as well. He's not that far from Gen Con, so yeah, I've got very good reasons to go visiting. So hopefully, if my channel keeps growing and things pick up, I might be able to afford to go to Gen Con again. I was almost there before COVID hits. I was almost there. I had a hotel room booked at the Hilton. By the way, don't book at the Hilton. I almost had a hotel booked at the Hilton. I was going to Gen Con. I'd almost bought the plane tickets, and then COVID hit, and that was that. That was the end, and that was probably my only chance to go. That was really sad. But I'd love to show up there and say hello to everybody. I would. I've never had a US Folgers coffee. I don't know. Do I have a list of RPG systems I would like to try? All of them. All of them. I'm a fanatical role player. That's the main focus of my life. I will try any role-playing game. And I'm kind of infamous for that. In fact, the one-shot group that we established on Facebook years ago, which ended up being the source of all of my pain. That was we originally designed it as an indie RPG club where you would. Our idea originally, I've actually got the recording of this conversation, and Juice, if you're out there or ever listen to this, I'll share that with you one day. Me and Chepe and Juice and somebody else. I've forgotten his name, but he was there as well. We were discussing an indie club where you bring along your obscure role-playing game like Made the RPG, or I don't know. Let's say you've just heard of Mork Borg and you're trying to get people to play it, but nobody's ever heard of it before, and you're like desperate. So you say, okay, look, if you play this game, you get a point, and you can then spend those points to run your own indie game. And other people who want to get their own points to run indie games, they have to participate and play your game in order to get a point. So it's like it's an indie club for indie games. Indie meaning independent. Because we wanted people were desperate to play all these games. Same thing with, at the moment, we've got the same situation with Kickstarters. Oh, Man Shorts has just put out a video. An update. I noticed that Man Shorts was shutting down their channel. That was another big shock at the start of this year. I'd say we're going to see a lot of channels, YouTube channels, die this year because of this unfortunate addiction to clickbait that people seem to have. You can complain about clickbait all you want, but man, are you forcing, not you, the people in the chat, but just the general D&D audience, YouTube audience in general. It's like, look, you can make valuable lore content like I do, and I'm lucky because I've got that back catalogue of stuff that people refer to and watch, which gives me a steady income. But if I didn't have that evergreen content and I was just chasing views week by week, the answer is clear. You have to do clickbaity videos. Otherwise, they just get no attention whatsoever. I mean, that video that I did with the clickbaity title, even though it had good lore about the Odonti Orcs and stuff in there, very relevant lore, it got 10,000 views in 3 days or something like that. It's just like, well, that's the clear case. Like, you must make clickbaity titles. Otherwise, you just get ignored. And it's like, you can complain about it all you like, but if your behavior doesn't change, you force the creators to follow that model, because otherwise they go out of business. They don't get any views. So it's like, yeah, we have to chase the common denominator, and the common denominator is people who don't follow the same, the complaints they have about you just clickbait content, blah, 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 you're a drama channel. You force them to do that. Like the Professor Dungeon Crafter made a video where he talked about all of his content, and 9 of his videos 1 month, only 3 of them had clickbait titles, and the rest of them were other content that was like valuable lore or crafting or game reviews and things like that. And those 3 clickbaity titles got all of the views. It's just like, well, what do you want him to do? What do you want him to do? We have to do what you watch, essentially. So my brand is, I've been put into this comfortable cubbyhole of I do D&D lore and monster ecologies. I'm happy to do so, But if I try and veer off that and do something else, yeah, I get cut off at the knees. I can't do anything. I can't veer from that. So if I do, I go out of business. So yeah, and that's why I will not do those clickbaity titles and things like that if I can at all avoid it. Yeah, Man Shorts is great. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very lucky in that I have that back catalogue and stuff. YouTube once tried to buy it, essentially, and said, we'll give you a lump sum payment and stop giving you monthly income from that. And I was like, hell no. Like, for instance, the Faiths and Clerics of the Forgotten Realms video that I did, and also the Red Dragon video, those are my top earning videos monthly still, to give you some idea of how important those reference videos are. So if you're rolling up a cleric and you want to learn about their particular faith, how they dress, what their rituals, what their beliefs, what their day-to-day activities are, click on that video, click on the timestamp, go to the specific deity, and bam, you got all the information you need there. Those videos, those earn me money. Ongoing money every month. And that's what I chase, is not clickbait, not the topic du jour, not the local drama, not the international drama, not Elon Musk, not politics, not allegory, Not all this, not talking about other YouTube channels or shitty things that other companies do. That doesn't interest me at all. I am a sage. I'm a historian. I'm an archiver of lore. I provide this information for you so that you don't have to go back and buy all these old books and things like that and support companies which don't really deserve it. So I'm a pirate, yo-ho. I love the Red Dragon video too. Yeah, the clickbaity stuff draws your eye. Sad but true. I think Dungeon Dad's probably got a really nice balance there. Dungeon Dad deserves all of the credit that he's getting. Definitely all the work that he's put into his channel is paying off dividends, and his content's really great. And his way that he structures his thumbnails and his titles and stuff is really good and on point. He's much better at this than I am, that's for sure. Oh, did you get an ad? Interesting. I don't know when the ads pop up in the live stream. Yeah, that's exactly, Lawrence. It's the return to those videos again and again and again that earns me money. So the majority, like I might get 2,000 views on my latest video, but on that day I'll have 15, 16, 18,000 views. So it's deceptive. Like, subscriber count means nothing on YouTube, really. It just means how long you've been around, pretty much. If you're continually gaining subscribers through continually like bringing out new content and stuff, there's a boil of subscribers. So they'll come in, they'll click on and they'll subscribe to your channel, and quite often they won't watch you again. So a lot of those subscribers are sort of dead anyway, like non-active on your. They're not actively viewing you, which is bad because it's bad for your analytics. But so the 100-something thousand subscribers that I have is not really reflective of how good my channel is doing. The daily views is a reflection of how good my channel is doing. And at the moment, my channel has, if I was just doing one video and then people weren't watching any of my old content, that video would be getting 15 to 20,000 views each day or each month or each week, or I'm not sure. But I get good views over the entire catalog of videos that I've made. So it's dispersed throughout all of my content. Yeah, I'm not chasing clickbait. I'm not chasing viral videos. I'm chasing continual referencing and going back and watching the views. So I'm building a passive income, which allows me to do this for a living. My interest to deviate from my style too drastically. And I've made those mistakes. And also that really hurt me during the OGL thing where I had to boycott D&D. Thanks, Duke. Finish the classes series. Oh, yeah. See, classes, that's the other thing too. Classes change. So me making a video about classes gets dated very quickly. I suppose I could sort of look into it more. I have done most of the magic classes. Bards was the last classes video that I did. That wasn't that long ago by my standards. But I haven't really got into the martial classes. Rogues is one that I'm very interested in doing as well. Because, yeah, that sort of thing is really cool. Yeah, Yazik's still making videos, still making music, for sure. Thanks, Genix. Do you know anything about the City of Swords in Mount Celestia? Can't find any written info about it. The City of Swords in Mount Celestia. I know about the nations of the cities of the sword. I made a video about that and the origin of the Chondathan people in Forgotten Realms. But the City of Swords in Mount Celestia specifically, no, I'd have to look that up. Yeah, I have made a video about Celestia, but of course it's an overview. Celestia is extremely complicated in and of itself. Really, we need more and more adventure set in the Outer Planes, I think. How do you keep track of all of the lore? I have trouble keeping track of Warhammer 40k, understandably. Like, Warhammer 40k rivals Forgotten Realms in the depth of its lore, but it's just dedication and thinking about it day to day and day to day. I set out to do this, to really understand the Forgotten Realms on like it was a real place. And I can tell you that I am not the foremost expert on the Forgotten Realms by a big margin. Eric L. Boyd and George Krashos and Ed Greenwood are the experts on the Forgotten Realms. Between them, they either know it or they'll invent it. And they're the only ones who really, really can. But yeah, if I'm ever stuck with something, I'll ask Eric L. Boyd. He's the foremost expert on the Forgotten Realms in the world, aside from Ed Greenwood and George Crashos, I would say. Yeah, those are the masters of the order. They're the Saruman's. I'm the Gandalf. I will only become the Gandalf if they leave this mortal coil and travel to the Outer Realms themselves. Then I'll become AJ the White. Ooh, that'd be a bad sound bite. Welcome to Gold Dragon, Lawrence. Interesting you should say that, Shakescan. One of my original gaming buddies, he played a first edition assassin, and he ended up being a major NPC benefactor that sent us on adventures. Oh, I've almost forgotten the name of his character. What was he? Glint Nightshade. There you go. That was the name of his character. Glint Nightshade. Max, if you're ever watching my videos, I still remember. That was in Greyhawk. Yeah. Glint Nightshade. We used to adventure in AD&D in Greyhawk. But it wasn't Greyhawk of the books. It was just the map, and we just invented everything that was on the map. We didn't pay any attention to the official Greyhawk lore. Aside from if there was a map of a particular place or there was an adventure which mentioned it, yeah, we just ignored the lore and just ran the things. We didn't run any modules or anything like that. I've never really run modules. It's only recently that I've paid more attention to them. And it's kind of weird that people are so obsessed with modules these days. It's like, really? Okay. Dungeon Dad, AJ, Jordan, PH is silent, Wally, Sly Flourish, etc. We're living in the golden age, my friends. Yeah. Channels come and go. And as I often said, I'm not mighty because I'm the best. I'm the mighty because I will be the last D&D channel still around. Unless, I shuffle off from this mortal coil and go and join my forefathers in Valhalla. AJ the Sage. Yeah, that's me. That's literally what I do for a living. My title of my job description is Sage. YouTuber, but Sage. I earn money from giving people information. Thanks, Genix. Huge. Thank you. Last donation for now. Would you consider doing a lore video on the Orbiting Hell? Never covered in any of the 9 Hells books. The Orbiting Hell? I've never even heard of it. I'm going to write a note that I'm going to look that up for you. What source does that come from? Just curious. It sounds like an Eberron thing. What about the Council of Gods? Is it still in the Outlands? Don't know. I don't actually know that much about the Outlands. It's never interested me much until sort of you get to the completion of the Great Wheel. The Slardy video has got a lot of interesting stuff in there because it's talking about the architecture and the spawning stone and that sort of thing. We played in Mystara before the Gazettas, so our Mystara was a bit different than what was eventually published. Yeah, no campaign, no module ever survives contact with the player characters. I find it very, very weird that people stick with like writing adventures and making adventures. I can understand writing adventures because much like character building or campaign planning, writing adventures is a hobby in and of itself as well. It's good practice for short story writing. Structure and pacing are very important, that sort of thing. You can tell, you can smell from a mile off if an adventure module has not been play tested. Tyranny of Dragons. If it's not been play tested, it's really obvious. And also, it's really obvious if something could have been done a hell of a lot better. Strixhaven. Man, there have been some real stinkers lately. Yeah, no module has ever ended in a campaign as it is written. Yeah, exactly. If you look at like Haunted Halls of Evening Star, one of the classic early adventures, if you play through that, it's a totally different experience from playing through the scripted, handing everything to you, drip-fed, minute-by-minute action, read this text block, here's the monster, blah, 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 things happen this way, they must discover this clue. It's a much more open, sandboxy sort of situation. And you'll be left going, well, when they get to the Haunted Halls of Evening, what are they supposed to do? What's the objective? The objective is kick door down, kill monster, get loot. That's the objective. Your characters are supposed to be doing this for a living, right? What's their motivation? Survival. Food on the table. Fame, power. Lordship over the realms. Establishing their own township. Becoming famous, having statues and songs sung in your honor. That is their motivation. Ain't got nothing to do with, their love interests and stuff. Hey, Jordan, how's it going? Got to get that cough checked out, AJ. Yeah, maybe. I was just talking about you earlier, Jordan. You were mentioned amongst our golden age of D&D creators. Am I coming down with something? No, I'm not. I'm actually feeling pretty good. I'm also talking non-stop for an hour. Bear that in mind. Tournament modules were always the easiest to prep. Yeah. Like the West Marches structure is actually quite good, particularly for a lot of streaming games and stuff. Oh, that was a joke. Okay. Channel is 8 years old this year. Yours too, I imagine. Yep. We started about the same time. Yeah, we sure did. Yeah. Yep, I went full-time D&D, quit my day job in 2018. Yeah, so I've been full-time since then. I kind of count that as beginning my full YouTube journey. That was the real scary thing. Like quitting my job to just do YouTube was considered to be crazy, not just by the people around me, but like other YouTubers as well, who said, this is not a reliable source of income. It's not. You really do live without a safety net. It is stressful. But yeah, I just happened to stick at it and succeed and survive. So yeah, I don't regret it at all. I think it's one of the scariest things I've ever done. Thanks, Jackson. Trench Crusade, quite this interesting lore, a bit unhinged, but absolutely metal as hell. Congratulations on another year of Sage Shenanigans. No, I haven't heard of that one. I mean, there's so many games to keep track of these days. We're just going to be cataloging all of the games that popped up over 2023, from just the explosion of games, particularly since the OGL. There's just been a massive renaissance and a huge upswing in new games and also people are really switching on to the fact that you can play many different role-playing games, and it's very healthy to do so, which is great. So this is like the silver age, I guess, of RPGs. The golden age would have been like the mid-90s, I would say, where we had a lot of diversity in role-playing games. And then it really narrowed down to a monoculture of like D&D. And then it's getting back to normal again, I would say. And we may actually see Dungeons & Dragons completely fall by the wayside and be taken over by lots of other things. Like Shadow Dark is a pretty good contender for the D&D killer. But again, it's not a big corporation. It doesn't have that sort of backing and stuff behind it. So we can only ask so much from Chelsea. She does a lot of work. But yeah, 100% support everything she does. Happy New Year, Stan. Just popped in quickly to wish you well. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Right, well, I've pretty much covered it. For going forward, I'm going to try and do at least one live stream every month. They're not a huge priority, but definitely really enjoy them. And thank you, everybody who has given me live chats. That really encourages me to do it more often. Yeah, it's always a cottage industry. We take it far too seriously. Hey, El Metro, I was waiting for you to show up. Trench Crusade is a Warhammer World War One. It might be a killer game world, but as it is, it's just a miniatures game. Oh yeah, okay. There's nothing wrong with miniatures games. Like 4th edition was really good for skirmish type games. Frostfell or whatever that one, Frostmourne or Froststorm or Stormfrost or whatever. See you tomorrow at 10 a.m. AJ. Yes, for the podcast. Yes, thank you for the reminder, Fred. Okay, so yeah, look forward to more of on-brand content for me on this channel. Look at my new channel. There will be other stuff popping up there sporadically. But yeah, my main focus is always going to be just this channel, of course, and my lore videos and stuff. Podcasts, I'll put some links in the podcasts where people can find them. We were sort of holding off on promoting the podcast until we had like a back catalogue of a few pods, but we've got like 24, 25 podcasts there now. So yeah, that's the Wizards and Warp Drives podcast. You can get it on Spotify and all your streaming places. And there's also the Master the Dungeon podcast as well, which is more Nacho interviewing a lot of people who do live streaming games and upcoming channels and channels that have been around for a long time. A lot of the smaller channels and things. And we interview them and get their philosophies on why they do things and game design and all that sort of stuff. Quite interesting because you really get to like get to pick their brains about what they do. And yeah, we talk about specific topics in role-playing games and that sort of stuff. And of course, we're going to be doing a grand tour of all the realms in the form of a podcast. I might turn those into video content as well. Nothing's stopping me. So yeah. So thank you very much for me surviving 2024. Hell of a year. 2025, I'm already very, very relieved and enthusiastic that I made it. It's going to be a year of change. It's the year of the snake. Year of renewal and change. So yeah, we're going to see some big things in the industry. Also, can't help but mention, by the end of this year, AI will not just be making artwork; it will be making full videos of the level. I would say, if you've seen Astartes and things like that level of quality. It's just a prediction, but we're going to see some remarkable technological progress in the form of robots and generated video content. The likes of which you could scarcely imagine. This is going to be one hell of a year for technological development. So, thank you very much, everybody. Blessings to you and your house. Blessings to you and your house. And I'll catch you all later.